Hey, all my Scorpio friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Terry Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your May 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Scorpio, I'm talking about Scorpio rising as dictating the landscape of the natal chart. But this is also applicable to Scorpio moon, Scorpio sun, as well as any stelliums. That would be 3 or more personal planets in the sign of Scorpio. These videos are also based on the Pacific time zone, so please adjust for your location. Let's just jump right in because the month starts off with, and Scorpio, I'm going to verbally tell you where this is happening because I don't know how to make the wheel stay on Scorpio as the first house. So I'm going to verbally take care of that. Here we see the sign of Scorpio as the first house, and your ruling planet, Pluto, has entered your fourth house. The fourth house traditionally represents our roots. It represents our family and our home life. It represents the childhood environment with which we grew up in, the culture, the legends, the traditions, the dynamics of the land that we lived on. And here we see that Pluto is in Aquarius. Your fourth house could potentially have been quite an innovative home. You could have had people who were really interested in moving the cosmic collective forward. There's a strong, unique energy here in the Aquarius dynamic. And as Pluto retrogrades back into your third house, the third house traditionally is the house of I think, I speak, I teach. It is the house that rules our early childhood education. It rules our neighborhoods, our communities. It rules our emails, our general communications. And here we see it's the sign of Capricorn, and you've been experiencing your third house for the last, I think it's since 2008, Pluto has been transiting this house, really rewriting, rebirthing many ways of the structures that you're used to. And as it moves into your fourth house, it could completely bring in new life to your home. You could see yourself living a completely different life than you did before. The Aquarius energy naturally represents our hopes and our dreams, as well as innovation, future, cosmic consciousness, the social groups, the friends we interact with that are aligned to our ways of thinking. It's like, the chess club, and you play chess with somebody online who lives, on the other side of the world. It's a very expansive sign. So you could find your world going from something very structured and now feeling the yearnings of wanting to broaden your horizons. And as Pluto retrogrades, it's going to go back into Capricorn on September, I believe it is the 2nd. Yes, September 2nd. And it'll spend about a month hovering in the last degree of Capricorn. And that last degree of Capricorn is very powerful because the 29th degree is called the anaretic degree. It's where the soul masters the contrast of any one sign or house. So here you're mastering the contrast of the authority that there is over you, your public image, your drive, your ambition, and how that is perceived, basically. And then this brings you in October, we're going to see Pluto settle into your fourth house until 2044. So that's a long-standing dynamic. I also want to mention that during this time of the retrograde, but for the next decade plus, we are going to see Pluto in a sextile to Neptune. And this is another slow-moving planet. They are in many ways generational, but there's going to be a changing of how we view ourselves, how we interact, how we manifest. And part of that is implementing the divine laws of the universe. As I think 2026, Neptune is going to move into Aries for quite some time, and this sextile will continue, emphasizing the unique self. uniqueness of Aquarius and the uniqueness of Aries. Aries is your 6th house of service, of work, of employment, or being an employer. It's also rules your health. So there's a possibility for my Scorpios to really feel a sense of renewal that is coming forth by your willingness to do a bit of a deep dive into the fears that dominate your mind, the things that you think, the stories that you repeat. When it talks about I speak, this is not just about speaking to other people. This is about the self-talk as well. And Capricorn can be limiting and restrictive. It can also bring up a lot of history that is 3rd house related, into your upbringing, into how people perceived you being smart or whatever, however you got labeled. Most parents inadvertently label their children very early. This is my smart child. This is my helpful child. This is my rambunctious child. There's all sorts of things going on. So this is powerful because, again, this is your ruling planet, Scorpio. Now your co-ruler here, as we start the month, has entered its rulership of Aries, and we saw is in a sextile to Pluto. So this retrograde that we're teeing up for does not necessarily mean that it's going to be really hard to deal with. It could very well be revisiting and fine-tuning things, sharpening my skills as a peaceful warrior to really foster the kind of change that I want, things that feel more authentic to who you are as an individual. Now we see on this first day that there is a exact square to Venus. Now, Scorpio, Venus rules Taurus. Here she is in the rulership, and Taurus is your 7th house, the very furthest house away from yourself. Venus rules money. So this tension could be very much related about, potentially starting your own business or starting something, working from home. It could be that you don't know if you're going to make enough money, and yet at the same time, as you recognize that your co-ruler in the sign of self, in the sign that rules your employment, in many ways it rules your money, because what we do in the way of our employment affects our money. So I feel like this is an important dynamic to sort of where you're looking at your self-worth, you're looking at what you really believe, and you're saying, you know what, this could potentially be really good. And anytime something, is ventured that is something from the heart that you want, there's going to be a bit of a nervous energy attached to it. Okay, I've talked about that for quite some time. Let's jump over to the new moon. I'm sorry, the new moon is going to be in Taurus in your 7th house on the 7th of May at 8:21 p.m. I'm sorry, let me click off of Pluto. This is pretty significant. Oh, good. We have Scorpio rising here. This is good now. So here we see Pluto is now retrograde in your 4th house. It's going to be slow moving. It's also at the Venusian degree. And I think that's important because it's emphasizing your self-worth, what you believe about yourself, your ability to make money, your ability to shift your life the way you want it to. We see this wonderful sextile here to Neptune at 29 degrees. The 29th degree is the degree of Leo, and it's also the degree that reduces down to an 11. And that 11 is mastering the ebb and the flow of the oceans of being a human, of believing and not believing, feeling secure and feeling insecure, and how one thing feeds the other, and how we actually build our confidence through triumph over the things that we may feel elude us or are unclear to us. We also see that Neptune is making a beautiful sextile over here to Jupiter. And again, this is in all these planets are in your 7th house. Lots and lots of activity on this new moon. This new moon is planting the seeds for something. And I think for some reason, while it could potentially be a romantic relationship, I think it has more to do with making resources and money. I feel as if this is about, because here's the Virgonian degree, which is the 6th house degree. We see this Venus is while she's still in her her rulership, she's at the 10th degree at the time of the new moon. The new moon, we're planting the seeds for the future. We're planting the seeds for a cycle through faith. And the faith is that you could potentially start your own business because Jupiter rules business and commerce and marketing and influencing and branding and a lot of other things. Yes, foreign travel, foreign people, higher education, all of these things could potentially be birthed depending upon what your personal wants and desires are, what your heart really wants, what your soul wants, what your inner knowing wants. And if anybody has a strong sense of inner knowing, it is Scorpio. And you may not think it, but there's such an intensity in how you view. You're so psychological that you are inadvertently by default intuitive. Now, at the same time that this new moon is happening, we see that Mercury is having a conversation with Chiron in your sixth house of work. And that conversation, as Mercury is now moving forward, is like the third time Mercury has had this conversation. And so I think what's happening, because Mercury rules your third house. Well, I shouldn't say that. Mercury naturally rules the third house. Saturn rules your third house. So this could be the potentials where you are rethinking about your wounds, potentially saying, you know what, I can't tell myself the same story over and over again. I'm tired. I don't want to tell that story anymore. And now you're starting to feel the transformation. And the transformation is your willingness to look and say, you know, what is the price I have to pay for getting what I want? I guess it's going to be believing in myself until I get it. And that's what I think is reflected in this new moon's, in the seedlings, because it's just such a strong, this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that we felt in April. If you're listening to my channel, there's videos that talk about that. You can go back to April or to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction video, because this is liberating something. And I think it's liberating you from whatever legacy has held you back from your own innovation, your own unique expression, your own self-worth and genius. So this is really a powerful, powerful new moon. And I want to say this too, because historically, we are in a precursor to major change. And the major change is a sense of awareness, because as Pluto moves in deeper and deeper into the sign of Aquarius, we will see manifestations in the material, like people flying cars, to work or something, I don't know, or telepathically, holographing themselves into meetings. But it will also bring a sense of a real wanting my hopes and my dreams and my desires to be birthed. And Scorpio is the most powerful sign for birthing great wealth. So I think that this is something to really think about for your own, to feel like a sense of solace is the way I want to put it. Now, there's a little bit of a challenge between the South Node here and the sign of Libra, which is your 12th house. And that South Node is there's a transit. So what I'm trying to say is to paying attention to where in the past you may have inadvertently felt unseen in your traditional partnerships, contractual partnerships, and are you willing to be seen in your house of work? This is so powerful for your longevity, to enjoy your journey on this planet, because a disempowered Scorpio can become very angry as they get older, because they have so much potential. And if they don't allow for the potential to rise at every age, they can get cranky. God bless their souls. Okay, let's go on to the 15th. Well, we will see Mercury move into Taurus. Here we go. Here we see Mercury has moved into Taurus. And again, Taurus is your 7th house. This is going to be a lot of conversation about building on your skills. We see Venus is over here about to make, it's already in a conjunction with Uranus, but Venus is heading very quickly towards Jupiter. And as Venus and Jupiter get closer together at the end of the month, this is really powerful for expanding money, expanding your contracts with people, even getting contracts with big, organizations, even foreign organizations that you didn't think was possible. There's so much yummy energy. And I'm not really including the moon in these because unless it's a full or a new moon, because these are momentary hourly transits here. But look at over here how Pluto is making a beautiful trine over here to this 7th house and what will be your 8th house as Pluto moves deeper and deeper into Aquarius. It makes a natural trine to Gemini, opening an opportunity for more clients, more money. You naturally rule the 8th house. So we talk about death, we talk about taxes, we talk about other people's money, we talk about finance, investments, we talk about financial, even institutions and banking. We talk about the occult is even here, where if you're an astrologer, you could be, even a bigger teacher, but we'll get to this a little bit more, but this is going to continue as well. As the next year, Jupiter transits your 8th house. So this is very exciting and very powerful, for you personally. Now, Mercury moving into Taurus is going to, again, bring thoughts of planning, of strategizing, of, we think of agriculture, and many times agriculture that we grow sustains us through the cold months and gives us a sense of security. I think you're really going to be wanting to build something that you feel a sense of flow and security. So I think that's really, really great. We also see that Mars is creeping up on that north node. And as Mars does in its rulership, it's going to feel ravenous to move the story forward. Mars is your co-ruler for ancient, for millennium, for so long. Mars ruled you before we knew about Pluto. And this is really going to be a bravery about coming from your heart. I have no other way to say it, because Mercury here is making a challenging aspect to Pluto, which could bring up insecurities, could bring up feeling, like, will people like me? Am I deserving enough for the things that I want? And this Eris is Mars's little sister, and she's slow moving through Aries. Almost everybody has her in Aries in their natal chart that's alive right now. And she's really kind of been talking to Mercury about, are you going to stand up for yourself? Are you going to believe in yourself? Are you going to go back and forth? Mercury rules the twins of Gemini, which is, again, your 8th house. It also rules Virgo, naturally the house of employment. And we see all this activity that's been going on in your house of employers, employees. It's also health. It's also our pets. So if you've been a little hot on the inside, then you're going to reconcile some resentment or anger you may have that's been affecting you from or preventing you from moving forward. But I tend to think this has more to do with money, or making flow of money, capitalizing on your talents, bringing unique energies into your existence, into what you want in your world. Okay, now let's go to the 20th, where we will see the sun enter Gemini. Now you can see how Venus and Jupiter are really starting. They're getting into a big, expansive conversation. This is even, the little shadow side of this conjunction is you could feel like just, hanging out, partying, drinking, eating, enjoying yourself, and not really caring if you like get fat or if you have a hangover. That could be, a little bit of the shadow side, if you want to call that a shadow side. But here, on a more long-term level, I think this is a beautiful aspect to Pluto. Here I'm rewriting my thoughts. Pluto is ruled by Uranus. I'm going into, a version of myself that's just much more authentic to demonstrating my own personal genius. And, sometimes people want to call genius autism, but it's really not. It's really just how people who have extreme talents tend to focus in one area, stretching that part of their physical existence, whether it be their body, their mind, their spirit, but it's within the physical apparatus. Here is Venus. There's Jupiter just about to move into Gemini, and this is a very expansive energy here. So this is pretty fun, I got to say. And here we see a beautiful sextile over here to Neptune. So this is a really good time to dig deep to your deepest dreams, to what you want, to allow yourself to broaden your horizons, because this Gemini energy of transformation really offers you an opportunity to use your skills, your talents, whatever they may be, to engage a community, a community. You know, that's what naturally Gemini rules. And the eighth house rules other people's money. So you could create clients so nicely. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, onward and upward to the full moon. I don't know, I'm a little weird lately. So if you're listening to this still, I apologize if I seem a little comedic or if I think I'm acting funny, because I kind of am. But I've always got a little bit of that sassiness. All right, here we go to the full moon. I love this full moon. I can't help myself. I just think it's so magnificent. It's in your second house of making money. You got to love that. Using your skills, because we overlap. You know, that's the natural second house of Taurus. So here I see there's the moon and there's the sun. And now Jupiter and Venus are at the anaretic degree of Taurus, that mastering of the ebb and the flow of expansion and how expansion can scare us and excite us at the same time, making an exact sextile to Neptune. And here I feel like this is about, I know how to apply the laws of the universe. I know how to sit in meditation and focus in on what I want. I know that I'm worthy. And now this full moon is illuminating that worthiness. Okay. A full moon doesn't always have to illuminate something bad, because again, here's this continuing trine to this energy as Pluto moves retrograde in this house of literally the foundation of how you think about yourself. And I think it's very exciting. And I think this long standing, decade standing sextile between Neptune and Pluto and Neptune is really going to bring the spiritual, the knights of the round table out in all of us. And as we are, seek the sacred within ourself and our inner knowing, and we start to trust that, we'll become so much more powerful in our manifestations. Now we see also on the day of this full moon, here's a potential unexpected illumination. Because here's the North Node at 14 degrees, there's Mars at 17 degrees, and there is Chiron at 21 degrees, making a square and a half to the moon and making a half square to the sun and to these planets. So this could be, again, where you could feel a sense of, I kind of want to offer it this way. Some people think they can actually release things, they're just going to go away and you'll never have to feel that nasty feeling again. But other people just aren't wired that way. And Scorpio, you're not wired that way. So you may feel a little bit of a spike in being wanting to just get over it. Like, I want to get over my wounds. I want to get over this feeling of, this anger or this resentment or this whatever negative feeling that crops up out of maybe nowhere. And I think this is really where you're like, you know what? I don't need it to go away. Every time I feel that way, I know that spirit is telling me to turn my head towards my dreams. Okay. Just look at it that way, because Pluto has to bring something from the surface up in order to transform it. And that's going to be going on for a while. So it's not really about surrender. It might be a little bit about detachment, like if you can't really exact a solution or a cure or a balancing of a situation, why even bother to look at it anymore? You might as well just let it mosey on. Let it mosey on, not you. Because if you try to release it, you'll put too much focus on it. Okay. Now let's go to the 20. Oh, we're still on the 23rd. We have to go a little later in the day and we'll see Venus. I'm going to go to 6 p.m., move into Gemini. Yep, there she is. Now, she's still having this conversation, this bright conversation with the sun, saying, oh, how do I want to illuminate myself? The sun is our ego and our drive, and Venus feels like she's been ready. Now, let me refer back to the March video for Scorpio, because when Venus was going through Pisces and she was meeting with Saturn, she was having a somber conversation, a summit about creating structure based on her talents. And here, as we move into this energy of Gemini, I think that, the community could just simply think wonderful things. They could just love you. You could feel the transformation. You could be very inadvertently, you could be a little magnetic right now and opening up, but you won't know why. And I don't think you should know why, because I think that this square and a half that's still continuing with the south node is to be egoless to some of Scorpio's more default behaviors, feeling that you have to power over a situation. And I think here I'm seeing more of a sense of charm and of using your talents as a inspiring energy. That's now we see Pluto's also at 1 degree. So Pluto is making an almost exact trine to Venus. So we love that. That's fun, warm, and yummy. Now, a couple days later, on the 25th, we're going to see Jupiter move into, oh, I got to go later in the day. I moved it back. Let's do the same thing, 6 p.m. And we'll see Jupiter has moved into Gemini for the next year. Now, a lot of astrologers are going to talk about how Jupiter is in detriment. Jupiter is expansive and broad and sees philosophy and ideology. Here's where Jupiter says, you know what? I'm going to start putting that ideology into the earth plane. I'm going to start allowing to teaching things in a way where other people can relate to them or understand them in a way. It's almost like Jupiter comes down into the neighborhood. And that is very much under the influence of Pluto, your ruling planet. So I don't necessarily think that Jupiter is going to be in such bad shape over here, because Jupiter traditionally in astrology has been a bit of a hog. It's expansive and sometimes it pushes other energies out, it is rumored that that's how Mars, your ruling planet, ended up being the red planet, because Jupiter knocked it off its axis as it was going through I forget it. It's a belt. I can't remember the name of the belt right now. But it's not important, because also at the time, on the 25th, as Jupiter moves into Gemini, there's this co-ruling planet here up against Chiron. And this is an opportunity, as now that you've transformed into this Knight of the Round Table, to use your wound to empower you and to be a gift now. And that's all supported by this energy between Pluto making this trine, and then this sextile down from the Sun and Venus and Jupiter, all down to Neptune. You can see the triangle here. And if there's a technical name for it, I've forgotten it. I apologize. I'm a little more what do they say? Homespun in my viewpoint of astrology. Terry talk. That's all I do is Terry talk. Let's go to the 29th. All right. So now we see Mercury is heading into a conversation with Uranus. And oftentimes we talk about how Mercury is the lower octave of Uranus. And I think this is thoughts of the future and expansion and innovation in my contractual partnerships, potentially really making, and those partnerships could be very much with people on the internet, with expanding your reach over the internet and creating what feels like a community, a small community. And I don't care if there's millions of people on it. We see Taylor Swift is a perfect example of how she can put, literally tens of thousands, 96,000 people in a stadium, and they all become in unison singing her songs. So there's a lot of potential here for you to shift things in a way that you might not have ever thought was possible. And that's why this is asking you not to look at what you know is possible, but just think about what appears maybe impossible, because technology could offer something that you can't see right now, Scorpio. All right, and I'm just quickly going to pop to the last day of the month. And here we see now that Jupiter is in an exact trine here to this yummy Pluto. This is Pluto offering expansion of wealth through an awareness of where I've held myself back, or where I've held myself small, or where potentially I've held myself in a place of being overly dominant. Again, Scorpio is a bit fixed well, a bit, need we say more, but because here we're still experiencing this sextile that is going on between Pluto, Neptune, and Jupiter speaking to Pluto. I'm willing to rewrite my beliefs. I'm willing to think broader thoughts than I have before. I'm willing to implement the divine laws of the universe, which is to be aware of how I feel before I take an action. And while the moon is here at 6 p.m. on May 31st, it obviously is trekking around like zzz. But here at this time, it may even be, you may have even more awareness than you did before. This could be a very dreamy energy of what can be, but your job, Scorpio, is to stay in alignment with it, to have a more enduring energy, especially as Pluto moves into your third house, Capricorn, and deconstructs whatever cobwebs are still hanging around. All right. That's it for me for the month of May 2024. Again, my name is Terry Hunter. I am an intuitive astrologer. I'm feeling a little bit like a revolutionary astrologer because the planets are telling me there's a lot of things that we are missing when we just keep saying the same keywords over and over again. So here we're going to flesh out some deeper detail and meaning through those signs and symbols. All right, everybody, thank you for hitting that like button. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate everybody, and I will see you in June. Have a wonderful May. Bye-bye.